we would have been delivering this baby on our own. Hi everyone! So this is it. This is the story you guys have been waiting for, and I can't wait to share it with you. So ideally I would have loved to have gotten everything, every little detail of this birth live so that I'm not telling the story. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the story so that way it flows together. And then whatever videos and pictures I do have, I will include those in it. So that way you can also see quite a bit of how it actually went down. So in case you're new, I just want to give you a little bit of context. This is my second child. I do have an almost 2-year-old boy. At the time that this baby was born, I was pretty much 40 weeks. And so I was ready for this child to come out. We didn't know what we were having, so I was also really excited to see what it would be. And so every night, my firstborn and I would go for a walk. And we did that 3 nights in a row. It would get progressively longer every night. And the night before the baby was born, that walk we did was 4.3 kilometers, both like dirt and paved roads, and pushing a stroller. So I think that that might have been the thing that sort of pushed it over the top and had this labor come on. So on June 3rd in the evening, we had our walk. My husband was here. We were just hanging out. I was using the birthing ball to just try and keep myself kind of limber. I was really not doing anything crazy, just sort of leaning over it and just kind of rocking back and forth. And I was getting some Braxton Hicks, but nothing like painful, nothing that I would say like, oh, this is definitely pre-labor or anything of that sort. My husband and I went to bed at 11 o'clock, and I did say to my husband when I laid down, I'm like, these are kind of stronger Braxton Hicks. Like, I wouldn't be that surprised if this could be maybe pre-labor. But with my firstborn, I had had quite a bit of sort of pre-labor signs already, like the afternoon before and into the evening and then overnight, and then labor didn't start until the next morning. So I didn't really think too much of it. But at midnight, I woke up with definite contractions. Okay, these are contractions. They're not like super strong, but they're waking me up. So I'm going to just try and lay here because, you know, we just went to bed like an hour ago, and it would be nice if we could at least have a few hours of sleep. So by 12:30, I got up, I used the bathroom, and I thought like, whoo, these are getting a little stronger. Laid back down again and was like, okay, if I just lay here, like maybe I'll slow it down a little, and that will at least buy us a few hours so we don't have to wake everyone up in the middle of the night. So that was definitely unsuccessful. By I think about 25 after 1, I got up and got my phone and started timing the contractions, because I thought I should really see just like how many minutes are these apart. Like, do I need to be sort of getting things ready, or, you know, is it still a ways away? Because I'd sort of been dozing a little in between, I wasn't really aware of how close together the contractions were. I went to the living room and I again just tried to use that birthing ball and started timing them and realized like, oh, these contractions are already, say, like 4 to 5 minutes apart, and they're getting stronger quite quickly. So there's no denying it. This baby is coming. At about 10 to 2, I woke my husband up and said, like, this is labor, like the baby's coming. He was like, what? Like, especially because it was only a couple hours before that I had said to him, like, oh, you know, some strong Braxton Hicks. And now it was like, yep, the baby is coming. So he got up and took my toddler over to Grandma's house. And that is where I have some live footage of how things were actually going. Well, I think this is it. It is 2 a.m. on June 4th. My contractions started maybe around 11:30 or midnight. I didn't get up to start timing them until about maybe 25 after 1. Right now they are, let's see, 3 or 4 minutes apart and lasting for somewhere from 1 minute and 15 to 1 minute and 40. So my husband has gone to take Levi over to Grandma's house, and then we're going to try and get things prepared for the midwives and give them a call and let them know what's going on. So in between contractions, I put all of the items that were not needed in the crib. I cleared off the top of the dresser so that they would have a workspace, and the top of this dresser for another workspace, and started trying to prep the bed. My contractions were too strong to actually finish doing the bed, so when my husband got back, I had him help me just put like the plastic sheet and stuff on there. And funny enough, he was struggling because he couldn't figure out how to put a fitted sheet on. So I was telling him to put it the other direction, and he's going, "What other direction?" So I ended up helping him with that. So after laboring for a little while on my own, and also getting things as set up as I could, my husband arrived back. It was probably about 2:35. By then I was like, okay, he better hurry, things are serious here. And so he came in the door and I said to him, we need to call the midwife. So that's what he did. Called the midwife, left a message with the switchboard or whatever that answers. And the midwife called back a few minutes later, talked to my husband, and then asked to talk to me. And so she talked to me and she wanted to know, trying to feel out, just how serious is this labor, how far apart are they, and all that. So I started telling her all of this, and I had a contraction while I was on the phone with her, and she said to me, so here's the situation. Definitely not words you want to hear when you're in labor, right? She's like, I am on the way to the hospital to deliver another baby at the moment. She said that mom is already at a 9, so she said I probably could just go to the hospital and deliver this baby and then come to your place and deliver your baby, unless we think that maybe things are progressing too quickly, and then I could send sort of the secondary midwife who is from the other team, so I'd never met, but would be assisting with the birth regardless, to come and be the primary person. And considering how at that point my contractions were less than 3 minutes apart, lasting for definitely over a minute, and really seeming to be progressing quickly, I was like, please send this other girl, send me someone. And I think when I had the contraction on the phone with her, she's like, oh, wow, that was a pretty long contraction. I think she realized, oh, this is kind of serious. So she said, okay, I'm going to send the other girl, and then when I'm done at the hospital, then I will also come to assist with the birth. I got off the phone. My husband did a couple of things that we still had to do to prep for the delivery. So he just had to finish making the bed. Fitted sheets are not his strong point, so I helped him out with that. And we got the room ready, and then we went back to the living room because that seemed to be the easiest place for me to labor. I just kind of kneeled in front of the couch and just had my hands and arms resting on the couch cushions, and just did that for the contractions, and that seemed to be really for me the best. And so that's what I did. I was there. My husband would just come and he would just put his hands on my back to help with the pain. And yeah, so I labored like that until the midwife came. It was probably about close to 3:30 when she arrived. And I'd say about 5 minutes before that, I said to my husband, she better get here soon. I was realizing, this baby is coming. I was starting to get contractions that were back to back with no break in between. And I was getting to the top level of my pain tolerance. And, in my mind, I thought, okay, once she gets here, we'll move to the bedroom, and then she can check to see how dilated I am and if it's time to push or whatever. She arrived. My husband went out to meet her, grabbed their stuff. She came to the bedroom, dropped her stuff off, put on her scrubs, came out to the living room, and I had one really strong contraction when we were in the living room. And then I said, I think we should go to the bedroom. And so I made it down the hall to the bedroom, and I was standing beside the bed, and I had another contraction. And then she said, okay, so she's up to you. Do you want me to check you first and then I'll set my stuff up? Or do you want me to just set my stuff up now and then after that we can check you? I honestly could not answer her. My husband afterwards was like, you didn't even say anything. I could not talk. I was at that point. So I got up onto the bed, had another contraction, and then I laid down and she checked to see how things were coming along. And to her surprise, she said, the baby is right there. One push and this baby should be out. Now, granted, I didn't believe her because I have heard of people only pushing once and was like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Pushed once, like really. So she said on the next contraction, she's like, let's get this baby out. Next contraction came. I gave a good push. Baby was mostly out. I swear I didn't even give another push. It was like a half a push and the baby was fully out. So out came the baby. She laid the baby down on my chest and put a towel over the baby and listened to its heart and said, yep, the baby is doing good. Baby gave a little cry and then another cry. And, you know, it was like such a precious moment. It all happened so fast. I think that we were all just in complete shock that the baby was already there. And then the funny thing was is that I'm laying there with this baby on me and I thought, I don't know if this baby is a boy or a girl. And so I said to my husband, did you see what the baby was? And he said, no. And the midwife hadn't even checked because everything happened so quick. So anyways, my husband came over, lifted up the towel and checked and said, it's
You're gonna be a big brother! Yeah! We get another one!
Another one like you!
welcomed this little baby into the world June 4th at 3:36 a.m., which was approximately 5 minutes after the midwife walked in the door. And we are very happy to announce it's another little boy. His name is Henry Gerald. He is named after my dad, whose name is Gerald. And so for those of you who know my dad, you know he's got some big shoes to fill. And we thought that that would be a very strong name for him. And we're very excited because this means that Levi will have a little brother to grow up with. So we were so thankful that everything went well because the midwife had no time to set up or do anything. She had her stuff in the house, but she got down some of those absorbent pads on the bed, which we had already prepped the bed, so it wasn't so bad. But that was about it. She was wearing her gear, and she had her stethoscope and a couple of things out, but she hadn't been able to set up any of this stuff if there had been any sort of emergency. So we were really thankful that everything went really well. And there was some tearing, nothing too bad. She did give me a couple of stitches, no trouble with the afterbirth. So we're so thankful that it was, in that way, a very smooth delivery, just very quick. So the other midwife did arrive, I would say, I'm just guessing, but I think it was probably about 10 to 4, something like that. So by then, baby was born, and there wasn't a lot of things that she had to assist with, which was a good thing. The baby she delivered in the hospital was born at 3 o'clock. So if she had delivered the baby at the hospital there and then come here to deliver the baby, we would have been delivering this baby on our own. I honestly don't think we realized how close we were to having this baby without a midwife here. I know in hindsight you'd say, okay, we should have called the midwife sooner. Absolutely. But it progressed, the labor progressed so quickly that I really didn't think that the baby was going to be born like really an hour after we called the midwife. I was expecting when I came to the bedroom that she was going to check me. I was going to be at a 10 and she would say, okay, let's start pushing. And then, it would be 10, 15, 20 minutes before the baby was born. But that was so not the case. So the girl who did end up coming and delivering the baby, total sweetheart. It was weird circumstances to meet under. I had never met her or seen her before, which is not the usual experience for having a midwife. But I seem to have a way of, most things I do in life end up having some sort of a story. So somehow I'm not surprised that I would be the person to not get the primary midwife and have the backup because both babies were coming at the same time. So she didn't stay quite as long. I mean, she finished the paperwork and all of that, and then she left. And then my primary midwife that would have otherwise delivered the baby, she finished everything up. So there wasn't really a lot for her to do in regards to me, but she weighed Henry. He weighed 6 pounds and 15 ounces, which interestingly enough is 1 ounce bigger than his brother. So apparently I tend to have babies that are a certain size. And he was 19 and a half inches long, which I think is pretty similar to what Levi was as well. And everything was good. She, gave him just a quick one over, and he was fine. He drank fine. So she stayed until I think about 5:30, and then she headed home, and we were like, okay, now let's finish the rest of our night's sleep. So it has been 2 days. He is 2 days old. This is him here. He does look a bit like his brother, but definitely not the same. I think we expected him to look a little bit more like his brother if we had a boy, but he's his own little person. So far he's been a very good baby, but because he's my second, I know that that's pretty much what you say anytime when you have a newborn. It's like, oh, they're so quiet and they sleep so much, and then a few days later you realize, like, oh, never mind. So we will see how it all goes, but at the moment things have been going pretty good. We introduced him to his big brother, so I will be doing a separate video on how things are going and show you how that introduction went, and give you some more updates on how things are with 2 children. So I hope that I covered everything in this video and that it flowed together. As you can imagine, it was impossible to really be filming much because everything just moved so quickly, and it was just my husband and I and that midwife, so it's not like I had someone here to be filming or doing anything like that. But yeah, if you have any other questions or those things I didn't cover, leave them in the comments below. I will answer them down there or answer them in my next video. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. Share if you have other people who are maybe, going to be having a home birth and want to know what the experience is like. I will say this is not the experience for everyone, but this was my experience. And if you're new, I would love it if you would subscribe and join the community here. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!